of September. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Following on from yesterday's article talking about replacing Cisco firmware with vulnerable or malicious firmware, there is an article from Cisco that is highlighting a vulnerability. So, as part of the stuff we talked about yesterday, in order to replace the firmware with firmware you control, it appears that you do need to be able to make use of some kind of vulnerability to get access to the device. Again, from yesterday's articles, it wasn't quite clear how that worked, but it was like these are the follow-on things. Anyway, so Cisco have just released a new vulnerability. It's a medium severity vulnerability being tracked as CVE 2023-20109, score of 6.6. It affects all versions of iOS and iOS XE that have GDOI or GDIKEv2 protocol enabled. It could allow an authenticated remote attacker to run arbitrary code on the device. So it is one of those vulnerabilities where in itself it may not be the single thing which is used to compromise the device, but it may well be one of those vulnerabilities that if there isn't some other means of getting on to the device, it gives them the ability to do things that you would not expect them to be able to do. Recommended actions to deal with this: get back on top of it, check with Cisco for updates and patches. And yes, I know I've looked after large networks back in the day. There is a temptation that if iOS is working, leave it alone. It perceived to be difficult to patch or upgrade. It isn't, but it does sometimes mean it's slightly more nerve-wracking than some other sorts of patches that are out there, and you may well have to negotiate downtime depending on how resilient your networks are, and so on and so forth. So there's and this particular flaw follows on relatively closely behind the Catalyst SD-WAN manager vulnerabilities that were recently disclosed. There were 5 of those, ranging from denial of service all the way through to an unauthorized access vulnerability, which gets a CVSS score of 9.8. So if you are running Cisco Kit at the moment, I would suggest getting up to date with patching. Make sure that your devices are in support and the patches are actually being applied. So Progress Software. So Progress Software are the people that made MoveIt, file transfer platform. Recently has had quite a bad time, as we're pretty certain everybody will be aware. They are also the people behind WSFTP server software. So WSFTP, I think, came with Noah on the Ark. I has probably had various owners and various, so on and so forth. But currently, at the moment, it appears to be owned by Progress Software. Widely used. I've used it myself a lot in the past. It has a vulnerability at the moment, and having one of those mornings. In an advisory published on Wednesday, Progress have disclosed multiple vulnerabilities impacting the software's manager interface and the ad hoc transfer mode. So there are various vulnerabilities. Two of them are being rated as critical. One's tracked as CVE 2023-40044, which receives a maximum 10 out of 10 severity rating, which basically means it allows unauthenticated attackers to execute remote commands after a successful exploitation of a .NET deserialization vulnerability in the ad hoc transfer module. The other critical vulnerability is CVE 2023-42657, directory traversal vulnerability. Allows attackers to perform file operations outside the authorized WSFTP folder path. Again, both of those are quite concerning if you're using WSFTP. The latest version is 8.8.2. So that's where you should be aiming to get to. However, if you're on a different stream, check for patches, because it may be that, although the article in Bleeping Computer doesn't say, it may be that there are patches out there. But definitely get on top of this one, because again, file transfer systems, once targeted, provide all sorts of juicy information for attackers. So on Matters AI, Bing Chat. So Bing Chat is Microsoft's AI-powered alternative to OpenAI's GPT. In fact, is powered by OpenAI's GPT-4 engine. But it's one of those AI chat engines that's out there. Unsurprisingly, in an attempt to monetize the chat service, it's got advertising associated with it. Well, it turns out that there is malware which is being advertised via the Bing Chat response page. So just be aware, it's not the only solution out there, search engine kind of thing out there that has inadvertently been advertising malware. It's a constant battle in the Google world as well. Just be aware that if you see something that looks good in an advert in a browser, before you go, "Ooh, I'll have one of them," just make sure that what you are ending up with is actually what you're expecting to get. So, personal recommendation would be just don't click on the advert. Take the information and then go to the website directly yourselves, to make sure that the website you are going to isn't one that is spoofing something else. So a particular concern in the article from Bleeping Computer is an advert that is imitating a popular IP scanner. It then proceeds to download either ransomware or backdoors and so on and so forth. So just be aware that these kind of adverts are around, and there does seem to be a bit of a focus on Bing Chat at the moment. So you have been warned. Also, on the subject of AI, Google's version of AI is Bard, and Bard gives you the ability to do the usual sorts of things, but then you can share the chat link with people. Turns out that if you do share the chat link with people, that flags that chat to be indexed by the Google search engine. So we've been seeing Bard chats appearing in Google searches, which is fairly I'm fairly certain not what the intention of the people who initiated the chat with Bard had in mind. So just be aware at the moment, if you are sharing your Bard chats with colleagues or friends or whatever, there is a possibility that that chat will then appear on a globally available on via Google search engine. You can search. There are specific ways to search for stuff that has been released in that way, and the simplest way to do that is using the cite method of searching. So cite colon the bard.google.com/share. And it will return the shared Bard chats that it's got indexed so far. Google's working on this. I expect it will be dealt with quite quickly. In the meantime, if you do find your own stuff up there, you can file a removal request with Google, and they will look into taking that down. Google has said this is an accident. It's not what they intended to happen, and they're looking into, as I say, looking into how they can fix it. Well, that's everything from me for today. Hope you have a good Friday and end of the week. Hope you have a great weekend. I will be back on Monday morning.